Good evening, everyone. I'm Mike Ingram. I'm a planner with the City of Bellevue Transportation Department. We put together this meeting to share with you information about several projects that are either happening already or in the works for the segment for the area along the I-405 and Eastrail corridors from Mercer Slough down to Coal Creek. And so specifically, we have projects that are run by King County, by Washington State DOT, and one from the City of Bellevue. So we'll share with you information about all four of those. Please do input any questions you have into the chat. And we are recording this session, so just be aware of that. We will post the recording out on the city web page afterwards. So the first topic tonight will be an update on the Newport neighborhood plan. That's just getting started. We'll have Representative Kate Nessie from our Community Development Department speaking to that. On the city side, the city did organize this, but we have participation from King County Parks for the Eastrail Trail Plan project update. We have participation from King County Wastewater Treatment Division for a project they will be undertaking here soon. We also have participation from Washington State DOT to provide an update on their I-405 Renton to Bellevue project, which has been underway for a number of years. So once again, I'm Mike Ingram from the City of Bellevue Transportation Department, a planner. We also have other city staff here tonight, our Jillian Hegstrom, our Public Information Officer. We have Ryan Walker, a planner from our Parks Department. And we also, I believe, have Council Member Zahn in attendance tonight as well. So we'll start now with the Newport neighborhood plan. For that one, we'll do question and answer right after the topic. For the others, we'll hold the Q&A till the end. So the individual presenters will introduce themselves as they start their topics. So with this, we'll now turn to the Newport neighborhood plan update.
Great, thanks so much. So the Newport neighborhood area plan is being updated over the course of 2025. And I just want to give you a little bit of information about that so that you can have the tools you need to get involved. Let's see. There we go. So back in 2018, City Council launched the Great Neighborhoods program to update the neighborhood area plans for all of the 16 neighborhoods in Bellevue. And to make sure that those neighborhood plans reflect the unique identities of those different neighborhoods and preserve the diversity within Bellevue. So what are neighborhood plans? Well, the comprehensive plan, which was just adopted by council on Tuesday this week, has the general policies for how Bellevue will grow for the next 20 years. And in volume 1, we have citywide policies. And then in volume 2, those are the neighborhood area plans. And there's the update to the comprehensive plan really focused on volume 1, and then the Great Neighborhoods program focuses on updating those neighborhood area plans kind of on a rolling basis. So we update 2 neighborhood area plans every year. We updated Northeast and Northwest. Those were adopted in 2021. Then we took a break to update volume 1 of the comprehensive plan, and now we're starting up updating the neighborhood area plans again. And those neighborhood plans, they kind of define the vision of a community, and they also look ahead 10 or 20 years into the future. So compared to the other projects that you're going to hear about, which are much more near term. This is kind of the long-term vision for the neighborhood. So the Newport plan was last updated in 1994, so it's a little bit out of date. This is why the council wanted to update the neighborhood plans. The majority of the Newport plan comes from the Newport Hills neighborhood, which ends at I-405 there. But the new neighborhood boundary includes Greenwich Crest and Newport Shores, all of that area west of 405. So the area that we're talking about tonight. I'm pressing buttons on my computer and there's a little bit of a delay. So the timeline for the update right now, we're in the discover phase. So we're talking about the core values in the neighborhood, identifying sort of priorities for the next 10 to 20 years, which will result in a vision for the neighborhood and a kind of a concept map. Beginning in 2025, we'll be moving into the define phase, and where the types of activities that we'll be doing with the community include a urban design workshop that will result in a urban design framework for the city, and we'll start drafting the plan elements. Then in the second quarter of 2025, we'll be moving into the refine phase. And that's when we'll have specific policies for the neighborhood to review and give feedback on, and an overall draft plan. And then over the summer, that's when we'll move into the adopt phase. And the Planning Commission will review the recommended update, and then the Planning Commission will make a recommendation to council on the final update. So it's about a year-long process. Yeah, go to the next slide, I think, in a moment. Let's see. There we go. So there are lots of opportunities for engagement. Engaging Bellevue is always open. It's an online engagement tool. Right now you can put dots on a map and talk about the places that you really love and connect with in Newport. We are also hosting an ideas fair on November 20th, and that will be at the Newport Hills Swim and Tennis Club. Just today, we're sending a postcard to every household in Newport, and asking for feedback through a survey. So you should be getting that postcard in the next couple of weeks. We just sent it to the mail house today. You can register for updates if you want to put your email address and receive updates about the Newport neighborhood area plan. You can go to that link right there. And if you have questions, you can always email greatneighborhoods@BellevueWA.gov, and we'll be happy to answer questions. If there are any questions right now, I'm happy to answer them right now too. I think, Mike, people can just raise their hand. Is that how it works?
Actually, we wanted suggest that people should put input into the chat.
Oh,
and I
perfect.
believe Jillian will moderate any questions and consolidate multiple ones if there are, but I don't see any at this point.
Okay, great.
People can also raise their hands too if they want, and I can unmute them.
Okay.
If any questions occur to you, or if you want to get involved, that email address, greatneighborhoods@BellevueWA.gov, is a great one to reach out to. We'll give control back to you, Mike.
Very well. So we'll turn now to our first King County topic, which is the Eastrail and the Eastrail Trail. And so we'll have Shannon Arms and Kurt Warber from the county share with us the next steps for that project.
Yeah, hello everyone. Thank you for taking the time on a Thursday evening to be with us to hear about the Eastrail, among other projects. My name is Shannon Arms. I'm a capital project manager with the regional trails team at King County, and I focus specifically on the Eastrail, which will include the I-90 segment that runs right alongside the neighborhood that I'm sure many of you live in, Greenwich Crest. With me also tonight is Kurt Warber, who is our program manager for the Eastrail. So whereas I focus on specific discrete projects, Kurt is really looking at all the pictures of the puzzle to make sure they fit together and that the larger Eastrail, which stretches all the way from Snohomish County down to Renton, works as a complete whole. So I am going to jump back in later and talk a little bit more specifically about the I-90 project, which is close to home for many of you. But for right now, I'm going to pass it over to Kurt to talk more generally about the Eastrail program.
Great, thank you, Shannon, and hello everybody. Thanks for being here. As Shannon mentioned, I'm Kurt Warber. I'm the program manager with King County Parks for the Eastrail. I'm going to give a quick overview of where the Eastrail is right now and how we're starting to close all those gaps and make it more of a connected route that runs from north to south between Renton all the way up to Redmond and Woodinville. And then eventually it actually connects to a trail that will take us all the way into Snohomish County. So this is an amazing corridor that we're working on. It is what we call the essential north-south connector for non-motorized travel on the east side. And it really connects a lot of those kind of downtown neighborhoods at the same time that it connects all sorts of in-between local residential neighborhoods. People use it to walk their dogs as much as they use it to take long rides up and down the corridor. So you can see on the map where Eastrail is located. It's a very exciting time for us. We have some major projects going on. We're almost to the point where we've closed the gaps. You can see that red segment right there, which happens to be the segment that we're really interested in tonight and that Shannon's going to spend a lot of time on. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going on around that. If we go to the next slide, we have a lot of exciting projects going on right now that many of them will really come together in the summer of 26. So we're about a year and a half away for that. If folks are familiar with the Wilburton Trestle, and I hope you are, that's under construction right now and will open in summer of 26. We recently completed the major crossing of Northeast 8th, and that is open now. By the summer of 26, we'll also have trail open between the Wilburton Trestle and Northeast 8th. And then on the other side of the trestle, the south side of the trestle, at the same time we open the trestle, we will also open a connecting trail that runs across 405 and then down to 118th. Which is going to be the temporary way to get between that spot at kind of Mercer Slough and Coal Creek until we finish this great next project to get us over I-90. The other project that's interesting, and folks are going to talk about that tonight also, is the East Side Interceptor. If anyone is here from one of those areas around the Doolittle property or north of I-90, there's going to be, that's one of the projects that's going to be going on in that property and in that area also, while we're in between the time that we open up the trestle and get going on this I-90 project. If we go to the next slide, just brought some pretty pictures. So the trestle, we are under construction right now. We're really excited to be making some progress on that and anticipate opening in summer of 26. The next one, this many folks probably haven't seen yet. You've probably seen this from below as you drive under it on southbound 405. But this is the brand new trail crossing that's going to be open soon. That's being completed as part of the I-405 Renton to Bellevue project that we'll also hear about from tonight. This is near and dear to Eastrail folks' heart. And this gets us across 405 from the trestle. And then down, there'll be another small project that connects us down to 118th. And then, and temporarily will move on to an on-street way to connect to Coal Creek. And next slide. The big exciting one that we're looking at as the next thing is the one that Shannon will talk about, and that's the connector over I-90.
Great, thanks, Kurt. I mean, from my perspective, I might be biased. All the Eastrail projects are big and exciting. But yes, this is the one that is close to probably where many of you live and play. As it says here on the slide, we're a couple years away from starting construction on that, and I'll talk a little bit more about some of the reasons for that. But hopefully this trail segment is going to be open for you to use and enjoy in 2030. So just again, another map to give you a little bit of context. So you can see this orange line here is the I-90 project, called that lovingly because it crosses 14 lanes of highway over I-90, which I'm sure many of you who walk and cycle in the area know is not right now the most delightful crossing, not the easiest element of our city to get around. And so this trail is going to provide a non-motorized connection across I-90 and really close the last gap in multimodal sort of non-motorized connectivity within the Eastrail. So this is really going to unlock a lot of access within the larger Eastrail network when it is complete in 2030. So, you know, from south in Renton up to Bellevue, the central Wilburton neighborhood, which is going through a lot of exciting changes. This is really the key that unlocks your ability to walk and be on your bike between those two places. It is part of a larger network, as Kurt talked about. It will provide connectivity to other major regional trails, the 520 Trail and the Mountains to Sound Greenway Trail, which really are to the north and the south of the kind of city of Bellevue, as well as parks. So connectivity to Mercer Slough, up to the Bellevue Botanical Gardens to the north and south to Coulon Park. So, you know, when we talk about the importance of this project for us, it feels, again, I might be biased because I'm the project manager, but it feels like there is just a tremendous amount of opportunity that gets opened up when this segment of trail will be complete in a few years from now. In addition, it provides an alternative to biking and walking along 118th. So it kind of gets you up off of the road and is going to provide an alternative to folks moving through this segment of trail from using 118th. There's planned to be 3 access points currently. You can see the orange dots are 2 of them. One is right there at Mercer Slough, pretty close to the Environmental Education Center. One to the south, right at Coal Creek Parkway, where there's another large trail project many of you have probably seen under construction. And then there's going to be one at 32nd Street, which is not labeled here, but it's just a little bit north of I-90 here. And that will provide a connection to the Mountains to Sound Greenway Trail that your friends at City of Bellevue are going to be working on in the next couple years here. So those are the 3 planned access points to get up onto the trail and to be able to utilize this really amazing resource as it continues to be used into the future. A little bit about the project scope itself. So this is going to be 1.7 miles of trail, and it's going to be paved trail with a gravel shoulder. So again, these were renderings that were created as part of a grant proposal, successful grant proposal that we worked on just about a year ago. So this is sort of conceptual high-level thinking. These are the nice pictures that get us excited, but we have a lot of details to work out in terms of figuring out how does the trail actually fit in this particular specific location. But paved trail, gravel edges, you're going to see signage, you'll see lighting in some specific locations. There will be art components within the trail. All of that is still really being figured out and determined. But this is similar to the experience that you will be able to expect when you can get out onto the trail in 2030 to use it. We have existing wetlands and, and stormwater that we need to move and take care of. And we've also got some places where we know we're going to have walls. So there's going to be some areas that will have a little bit more work to do to sort of make sure that this is a really resilient and long-lasting resource for folks in your neighborhood as well as regionally in a larger sense. So a couple of project highlights. These are sort of the big takeaways. Projects in Bellevue, estimated completion in 2030, 1.7 miles of trail, which includes 2 bridges. I can't believe that when we're talking about the project scope, we have the bridge at 32nd Street, which is a wooden trestle bridge, and then we have the steel bridge that goes over I-90. So those 2 bridges, building trail on top of them, and any sort of updates to the bridges that are necessary to support trail use are included with this scope of the project. We estimate that 2.3 million people will live within 8 miles, which is sort of the average bike commute distance by 2050, which is just a tremendous number of people. And that it's going to connect to over 100 miles of other trails through the Mountains to Sound Greenway corridor, as well as other trails in the area. So again, just a tremendous impact for this particular project. And so the outcomes to you are that you're going to have the ability to use all of this as it starts to come online here. Talking more specifically about project schedule, which Kurt touched on. We're working on funding and public engagement really for the next 2.5 years, 3.5 years here. Well, 2.5 if we're 3.5 if we're starting in 2024. Part of this effort included a successful RAISE grant application, which is a federal transportation grant for $25 million. Hopefully you all saw the news about that. I don't know if we were celebrating loud enough that everybody in King County heard us, but it was really exciting when we got the news. In addition to some Move Ahead Washington funds are part of the project, and then King County is also supporting design and development of the project in these early stages. We begin design in 2025. So all those details that I said that we had to work out when we were looking at the pretty picture, we're going to be getting into all of that nitty-gritty in the next 3 years. At the same time, because this project has federal funding, we have to go through a federal approvals and permitting process, which can be a little bit longer maybe than some locally funded approvals processes. And what that also offers us is the ability for our pals at the wastewater department to use the corridor to perform repairs on the ESI 8 pipe. So we're going to hear a little bit more about that project in a minute, but there's some really nice synergies within King County and just sort of infrastructure in this area at large as part of us receiving federal funding for this project. And then, as we said at the beginning, starting construction in 2028 and complete and open for you to use by 2030. So we're really excited to see you out on the trail. We know that it sounds like it's a long way away, but we'll be working hard to make sure you have a trail to use as soon as we can. And again, thanks for being here and hearing about our project.
Thank you, Shannon. I think there's a couple. Oh, okay, there we go. So we'll turn now to the King County wastewater project. Daniel?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. Oh, sorry, I see we have a hand up.
We'll do time for questions at the end.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. My name is Daniel Arauz, and I am the Community Outreach Lead for the Eastside Interceptor Section 8 Rehabilitation Project. I'm just here to talk to you today about the project, give you the latest updates and what you can expect going forward. So we'll move the slide now. Sorry, there's a bit of a delay as you've seen. All right, there we go. So I want to start out by first giving you all a kind of a big picture overview of King County's wastewater treatment system. At the wastewater treatment division, we manage a pretty wide spanning system that covers a lot of most of King County and even going into parts of Snohomish and Pierce County. And basically, we're responsible for managing and treating the wastewater for this whole service area, which covers homes and businesses, industrial areas, and we're serving over 2 million people, which is a pretty big system. Yeah, a lot of moving parts, a lot of treatment plants, as you can see on the map. We have several treatment plants kind of dotted throughout King County and up into Snohomish County. And connecting all of these treatment plants is a system of conveyance pipes. So you can see those on the map represented by the orange lines. And it's a pretty expansive system of sewer pipes that connect the whole thing and make it all work. Real quick, part of wastewater treatment's mission is to protect public health and the environment by ensuring that treated wastewater is safely returned to local waterways. We're also supporting regional sustainability efforts and managing biosolids and reclaimed water for beneficial reuse. Went too far. There we go. So now we're going to zoom in a little bit to the actual project area for the ESI 8 project. You'll probably recognize this map. That's I-90 and I-405 right there with the Greenwich Crest neighborhood. So for this project, you saw the map with all of the orange lines, all of the big pipes. We're focusing on a 1-mile stretch of underground pipe that kind of runs from the I-90 and 405 intersection down to Coal Creek Parkway and 405. So kind of right down the Greenwich Crest neighborhood, but it's all underground, so you obviously don't see this infrastructure on a day-to-day basis. And the pipe is in need of repair. It's not like an imminent risk of failure, but it is at a point where we do need to do some repairs to ensure that the pipe can continue to operate safely. So with this project, we're going to be doing repairs to that 1-mile section of pipe. And by doing this, we're extending the lifespan of the pipe for around 50 years. So it's a pretty good bang for our buck. Instead of having to replace the whole thing, we can just do some preventative maintenance, so to speak. And yeah, we're going to be ensuring that we're continuing to provide wastewater services for all of the homes in the area, and not just in the Greenwich Crest neighborhood, but for the entire basically east side area that includes Bellevue and Renton and all the other municipalities. There we go. So, sorry, I'm going to go back one slide. There we go. So I want to speak a little bit about the actual project and how we're planning on completing these repairs. In order to go in and fix the pipe, we're going to have to take that 1-mile section out of service for the duration of the project. And in order to do that, you know, all that sewer and wastewater is going to have to go somewhere. So we're going to have to install a temporary diversion pipe to bypass the sewer flows during the rehabilitation work. And you can see an example of a temporary diversion pipe system in the bottom right corner. So it's basically an above ground temporary sewer line that's going to reroute the flows while we go in and install a slip lining repair, which you can see an example of in the top right. Essentially what a slip lining process is pushing a smaller reinforced pipe into the existing pipe to reinforce the interior and make sure that there's no leaks, make sure there's no cracks, and yeah, basically get it ready to work as we need it to for the next 50 years. So I want to go back actually to the previous slide. I can click it back. So just, yep. So as you can see on the map, this dotted blue line is representing the temporary diversion pipe that is going to be installed while we complete the work. And part of the reason why this project is happening now is to take advantage of the Eastrail trail that is currently unused. So we just heard about the Eastrail project that's going to go in and make all those awesome improvements. But before they go in and do that, we wanted to take advantage of the opportunity to install a temporary pipe system over that unused section of trail in order to minimize impacts to the community. Because otherwise that temporary sewer line would have had to go somewhere above ground along roads and would have created a whole lot more impacts to the community. So to mitigate that, we realized that the Eastrail provided a chance to create that diversion structure without having as many impacts on the community. So we're going to install that temporary system going from the north end of ESI 8 and run it down, heading south along that unused trail. And then to cross 405, we're going to actually dig underground and create a pretty deep tunnel that will go underneath 405 and pop back up at the south end of the ESI 8 pipe, where it will connect to the rest of the sewer system. So that's one way that we're trying to minimize impacts. We know that we really don't want to impact traffic any more than we have to. We don't want to create any more impacts to this community. And I think that by doing this project design, we're really minimizing those impacts as much as possible. So I'm gonna move to the next slide. There we go. So essentially where we're at right now is in the early stages of design. We're still figuring out the exact details for the temporary diversion pipe. We know that it's going to go along the Eastrail corridor, but the exact locations and impacts for roads and any sensitive areas are still being finalized. But we're pretty confident that most of the construction activity will be taking place at the north and the south ends of the ESI 8 pipe. So along those access points, and then along the temporary diversion pipe structure while it's being constructed. So before we can go in and actually do the repairs into the pipe, we need to do that, install that temporary diversion system. So you're going to see a lot of action around the trail in the initial part of the project. And then we're just going to leave that diversion pipe in place, and you won't see as much activity. And most of the activity will be focused on the north and south ends. But we don't have too many other details to share about construction impacts right now, since we're still in the design phase. It's going to be about another year of design. So I'm going to go to the timeline now. We're in late 2024. Going to be completing the design phase throughout the rest of 2025, and then we're expecting to go into construction sometime in early 2026, most likely. And that initial construction phase will be creating the temporary diversion system, and then once that is in place, we'll go in and complete the underground repairs, which you won't really see since it's all going to be happening inside the pipe. But you will see that action once again at the north and south access points. So that is kind of what we have right now to share. Obviously, as we continue in the design phase and we get more information, we'll be sharing that via our website and via our email listserv, which you can sign up for using that QR code, or by checking out kingcounty.gov/ESI8 rehab. That's going to be the best way to stay in touch as we progress through the design phase and go into construction. We'll be sending regular updates, and we'll be having more opportunities to connect with the project. So yeah, that's kind of what we've got for you. We're excited to get going on this project, and we're happy to be working in coordination with the other projects in the area to make sure that we're being as efficient as possible and minimizing impacts to the community.
Great.
Yeah, Danny.
Oh,
sorry, Mike. I was just going to say, Danny, I responded to a few comments in the chat. So my name's Ann Fowler. I'm the project manager for this project. There was one question that was about how many homes are connected to the sewer. So for our interceptor lines, for our connections, we typically collect all the sewer from the jurisdictions. So we don't have any of the homes directly connected to this line. So there wouldn't be any impacts to your existing side sewers if you have them as a part of this project. So that was one question. It is approximately 100 feet deep, a little bit more in some places probably. So it's a fairly deep sewer system that's running through there. It is essentially within an existing easement underneath those homes in the community, and then within the right of way, within an easement in the right of way of 405 and 990 with WSDOT. And then there was one question about ground disturbance around the pipe. So around the existing pipe, we're not going to be digging anywhere around that pipe. We will be digging at the north and the south portals, where we're going to essentially have an access point for us to pull the slip lining material through the line. So we'll have disturbance at the north and the south portals, but not along the alignment of the actual pipe. And
if there's any more questions, we can take them at the end. We want to do the next presentation and then have time for questions at the end. So I think Ellie, you were the first person, you had your hand raised. So as soon as we're done this next presentation, we'll go to you for your question.
Great, thank you. So now we'll turn to the Washington State DOT Renton to Bellevue project, and we have, I believe, Craig Smiley will share with us information about that.
Thanks, Mike, and I want to thank everybody for joining us here tonight. My name is Craig Smiley. I am the communications manager for the I-405-167 program. Kind of go over the agenda a little bit here. So provide a project overview for those that aren't familiar with the project. I know there's a lot of interest in the improvements that are happening with this project and in the future at Coal Creek. So we'll kind of go over some of the things that are happening there. We'll look at what we've accomplished this summer. We've hit a lot of major milestones for the project, and then we'll kind of talk about some of the upcoming work that we still have to go this year. So I'll also start off right off the top. We understand that construction is very impactful. This was an exceptionally busy construction season this summer. We expect next summer to be equally as busy. So we appreciate your patience as always. So the Renton to Bellevue project generally adds one new lane in both directions, northbound and southbound. Paired that with the existing HOV lane to create a dual express toll lane system. It's going to operate very similarly to what is already existing from Bellevue to Linwood right now. It'll also add some strategic general capacity. As you can see, that's represented by this green line here and down here. So from about Coal Creek Parkway to 112th going southbound, as well as Northeast 44th Street to North 30th in City of Renton. It'll build 2 direct access ramps at Northeast 44th Street down by the Seahawks practice facility, as well as 112th Avenue interchange. We just swapped some traffic over onto that new bridge, so work will be continuing there. It also builds critical infrastructure to support Sound Transit's Stride bus rapid transit system. We've already replaced the Main Street Bridge to accommodate the widening there. And one of our early deliverables with the project was a segment of the King County Eastrail that was from Northeast 44th Street to Coal Creek Parkway. So hopefully folks have been able to get out and enjoy that new section there. So currently with this project, the improvements that we're going to be seeing at Northeast 44th Street, obviously there's some pedestrian improvements that's represented by the purple lines there. They might look a little bit different. This was a rendering that was early on, but generally speaking, this is pretty close to what the alignment's going to look like. We all know in the morning, we've got some pretty heavy traffic going westbound. So we're going to be making some improvements by accommodating dual turn lanes to both northbound and southbound 405, as well as dual turn lanes coming down the hill from Newport Hills on 119th Avenue. We've received several questions about some of the work that's happening kind of right at the base of the Greenwich Crest community there. What's being put in there is what's called a compost amended bioswale. So this is basically is a water treatment facility where we'll be collecting all the storm water from the freeway, it'll be treated in that facility and then eventually pushed out to Lake Washington once it is treated there. So work kind of continues through there. It's going to be continuing through the winter time and probably into the spring as well. So future improvements, this is something that concept that we've been looking at for a while now. Series of roundabouts to kind of replace the series of stoplights that are underneath I-405 there at Coal Creek Parkway. So Renton to Bellevue is being delivered in 3 phases. The first phase was the I-405 167 interchange direct connector project that opened back in 2018. The project that's happening right now, currently under construction, is Contract 2. And this improvement at the Coal Creek interchange would be delivered as part of Contract 3 in the future. We don't have a completely defined scope on the project because that will obviously depend on budget and what the legislature approves. But this is definitely one of the concepts that we're looking at that would significantly improve traffic operations in the area. So kind of moving to what we've accomplished so far this year, Northeast 44th Street, this is what it looks like today. A lot of work going on there. Most of the work is concentrated on the new southbound alignment. We moved traffic over to the new northbound alignment, both northbound and southbound last year. So crews are really focused on getting that new southbound alignment. So that's the major focus in that area. This is kind of our longest pole in the tent, so to speak, our biggest scope of work for the project. So work will continue throughout the length of the project at that location. We also replaced several fish barrier culverts. So this is one of them that's just north of the Seahawks training facility there at Northeast 44th Street. This was in early August. Got that finished up and some significant repaving there as well. The 112th Avenue Southeast Lake Washington Boulevard interchange, we've got that new bridge installed there. So on the picture on the left there, you see a weekend closure that we had to complete demolition and the traffic shift onto that new alignment. We still have some work that's going to be happening in November, hopefully. I'll talk about that here in a little bit, but that's what the new bridge looks like there. Back in September, we had a full weekend closure to do another fish barrier culvert. That's basically just south of Coal Creek Parkway. You can kind of see the southbound off-ramp over here to Coal Creek. So this is just a little bit south of that. So also did some paving and some water, impervious water pavement on a bridge there. And also we flipped traffic onto the new southbound alignment at Coal Creek. So this was kind of the old existing alignment, and over a weekend we were able to get it switched over to this new alignment over here. So kind of that middle section where the old southbound was, that will kind of be the express toll lanes in the future. So just getting that workspace opened up, so work will continue into 2025 there. So upcoming, we're shooting for mid-November, the weekend of November 15th through 18th. We're planning to try to shift traffic onto that new southbound alignment. So this is actually looking south, sorry, northbound alignment. This is looking south. So we're planning to have a weekend closure of northbound to get this alignment switched over kind of where the represented this green line is here. So there's a lot of work to get to that point. A lot of that work is also weather dependent. And as we kind of get later in the year here, a little bit more difficult to get some good weather windows. But as of right now, we're planning to have a full southbound closure for the weekend of November 15th through 18th.
Thank you. Thank you, Craig. So at this point, we can take questions. I know some have been answered already, but Jillian, have you kept track of
yeah, so
the
first
questions?
I will unmute Elia.
Okay.
So your question, let me see here. Okay, so I'm going to allow Mike, and now you should be able to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. Hey, thank you all so very much, number one, for having this meeting. It's provided a lot of information. I do have some questions for pretty much everybody there. On the sewer part of it, when you're going to have the sewer line coming above ground along the trail, I notice you're going to be doing that in the winter time. Is there some kind of check to make sure that it doesn't freeze up when if it gets pretty cold?
Danny, if you like, I can field that question.
Yeah, and you got it.
Yep. So typically it's not a concern because one, we don't get super cold temperatures, but because you've got live sewage flow that is running through those pipes, they don't really freeze. It's not really a major concern that we have for that.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm pretty ignorant on all that kind of stuff, so I just want to make sure.
Yeah, no problem.
So also, okay, now for the trails. So when the trails are going to be coming along Greenwich Crest, I got a couple of questions for you. Number one, are they going to be lit? Going back and forth? And also, if they are lit, is there a way to keep the light from coming up towards our neighborhood and just have it pointed down towards the trail? Is that something that that's kind of already baked in the equation, or is something you got to think about?
Yeah, I'm going to let Kurt take this question, as lighting is a trail-wide consideration. So he can give a little context about how we have addressed this in other locations along the East Trail.
Yeah, thanks, Shannon. It sounds good. I mean, we are definitely, for folks who are used to King County's system, most of our trails are not lit, but we are lighting what we anticipate will be some of the busier segments of Eastrail, and that includes the section that runs north of Coal Creek Parkway and then continues through over 405 and across the Wilburton Trestle. So that whole length of trail will be lit. We're using relatively low luminaires on that, and they definitely have what we consider good cutoff, so that so the light is controlled and doesn't shine where we don't want it. Especially as we're going by Greenwich Crest, I actually wish that the trail was closer to the neighborhood elevation, so that lighting would be a concern, because it would be easier to connect up there. So I think that, especially as we go by Greenwich Crest, that lighting is going to be low. It's going to be focused on the trail and won't have impact on the homes up above.
Thank you. Well, will there be a fence between the trail and our properties?
There will not. Typically, King County only installs fencing along our trails where we need it to protect trail users from falling over an edge or a danger. So for folks who feel the need for a fence to separate the trail from their property, we encourage you to consider fencing on your own property, but we do not fence our trail corridors in. It's a lot of
That
fencing.
ditch?
Start to
Yeah,
feel, yeah.
There's a pretty steep ditch there on our side of that trail. Is that considered steep enough to put a fence up, or is that not really steep enough?
In some locations, it might be. There are criteria we use to evaluate that, and we'll be coming up with fence locations through the design process. And there will definitely be other opportunities like this as our design develops, to dig into the details.
Thank you very much. I got one more last bit. I'll be quiet from here on out, I promise.
Yeah.
The pavement at the bottom of our neighborhood on 120th Southeast, I understand that you guys had to do your work. You ripped up part of it. You put some asphalt down. If you guys could just keep fixing that, because it just keeps getting, potholes and stuff like that in there, we in the neighborhood would really appreciate that immensely. And one last thing, I drive that neighborhood, or drive that 405 almost every day going back and forth to work. When it's all done, you get all the lanes all done. You guys going to go back and pretty much kind of repave all of it to get all the construction stuff out of the way, or like all the rivets and divots and stuff like that cleaned up?
Yeah, so pretty much the entire area south of Coal Creek will be repaved. Obviously, right now we're swishing traffic around quite a bit to move work zones from the outside to the inside and vice versa. So it's in an interim phase. It's a little bit rough, we're aware. If there are specific potholes or anything like that, you can shoot us a note, give us a heads up. We'll go out and take a look at it, and we can have the contractor fill those. But the plan is to have basically a full overlay from I-90 all the way south. And as far as coming, that down on Coal Creek Parkway, 120th there, same thing. If there's specific spots you want us to take a look at, but that whole area will get repaved as well once we're all finished.
Okay. Thank you all very much. And just one last note for the City of Bellevue there, we are really in dire need of an access to the trail from up above our hill over here, instead of having to go all the way down. We've been talking about it forever. So Just want to put out there, and I'll be quiet from here on out. Thank you all
We're
very much.
well
Have a great
aware.
evening.
Yeah, we're well aware of that interest. And
will there be a chance to have a trail access on the north side of the neighborhood?
We are aware that we'll be looking at what are the opportunities to connect from Greenwich Crest down to the Eastrail. It is a challenging connection to develop, but yes, we will be looking at those.
Right. Good evening. Thank you very much.
And then it looks like the first two questions in the chat were answered by Anne in the chat. And then Heidi asked, what is the big hole at the Greenwich sign for? And then I think that would be Craig kind of talked about that.
Yeah, so I did have a slide. If you want to go back to that, that'd be great. If not, basically what it is that is a water treatment facility called a compost amended bioswale. So you can kind of see it right there in, I probably shouldn't have used purple and blue. That's kind of hard to see next to each other, but King County Eastrail connection is approximately where that purple line is. And then that water treatment facility that treats the stormwater runoff is kind of represented by that blue line there.
And then Peggy had a related question. She said, so the crater will be a treatment center for freeway runoff. Will it be operated by a person or is it automatic? And where will the water go if it fails?
It is a little bit automatic. It does have an overflow if you had a weather event that overwhelmed it. But for the most part, it's passive. So it sits in that kind of depression there where the materials and sediment is taken out by the compost and the plant material that's in there. And then there is a pump that pumps it up basically to the slough area up north of the neighborhood where it's ultimately discharged.
Okay. And then another one for you, Craig. Carla asked, she said, we've had part of our view blocked or removed with the road and noise walls, yet we also have a shortened noise wall behind our home. What are the allowable noise limits? And also, what about the right-of-way and state easement when they've kicked responsibility back to the homeowners for overgrowth of weeds, et cetera?
Well, let's see. I'll start with the overgrowth of weeds. So we will maintain anything that is within our right of way. Obviously, we can't do that on people's personal property, just from a liability standpoint. But if there's areas that are overgrown, that's on the WSDOT right of way, let us know and we'll get that taken care of. As far as noise walls go, it's a pretty complicated topic. We could do a whole presentation on that. But when we have a project, we do noise studies. Our noise studies are available on our project website. It's a combination of how loud is it, how many homes would receive a benefit from the noise wall. But ostensibly, the FHWA looks at 66 decibels as kind of the impact limit. So any noise above 66 decibels would be looked at for any type for noise mitigation. It's a 3-step process. So the first one is, are you above 66 decibels? If the answer is yes, it's a sequential thing. So you'd move on, like, is a noise wall feasible? Meaning, would it actually, if we built it, would it actually provide a noise reduction? Noise is kind of funny that way. The farther away you are from noise wall, the less effective it is. And the last one is it feasible. So that's kind of has to do with how many houses receive a benefit. Each house that does receive a benefit is allotted a square footage. That square footage has a dollar amount that's associated with it as well. And so basically you have to have enough houses that receive a benefit to justify the cost of the noise wall. So that area obviously is impacted and qualified through the 3-step process. And so the noise wall was built.
And then I'll read Dan's question, then Christine, afterward on that one, I'll unmute you and you can chat. So Dan says, when is I-405 Renton to Bellevue scheduled to be complete? And is the project currently on schedule?
That's another tough question. It's a little bit difficult to say on both. So the original opening date was scheduled to be in 2024. We've had a lot of things that are outside our control happen. We've had a global pandemic. We had a concrete strike that lasted about 6 months. We've had challenges with workforce availability and general materials availability. So right now, our current date that we're shooting for is the end of 2025. That being said, obviously, we still have a lot of work to do. We're working with our contractor to optimize our schedule to make sure that we can meet that date. We still have a lot of work that is also weather dependent, and who knows, maybe there's another global pandemic. So I can't say for sure, but that is what we're trending towards, and what we're shooting for is end of 2025 to get the project open to traffic. There'll still be some work. We have some like seismic retrofits on certain bridges and things like that, work that will continue into 2026. But as far as opening to traffic, end of 2025 is what we're shooting for.
All right, and then Christine, you should be able to unmute yourself. Don't think I can unmute you on my end. All right, maybe we'll go ahead and go on to the next question. So it looked like Doug had one about sewage that was answered. Oh, and then back to the bioswale. Peggy says, so will the sediment be standing at the bioswale or will it be pumped to Mercer Slough?
The sediment will stay in the bioswale. What gets pumped to Mercer Slough is treated clean water.
And then I think Carla had some vegetation concerns. So where's the best place to send those over to for kind of overgrown weeds or things like that? I think that's what your question's about, Carla.
Our contact information is right there in the bottom right corner. Any one of those, shoot us a note or give us a call and we'll take a look.
And we'll hop back over to Christine if you're able to unmute yourself, or you could put your question in the chat. All right, well, are there any other questions as we're finishing up here? And of course, we've got all the contact information here. So if something comes to mind later, or if you need some more information, please reach out to whoever is kind of the subject matter expert there. And again, we'll get the recording of this meeting put on the City of Bellevue's Eastrail website, which is BellevueWA.gov/Eastrail. And please feel free to send that link. If there's other people in your community who would like the information, please feel free to send it to them.
Well, thanks everyone for attending, and you have our contact information. So if you have any more questions, we'll be happy to respond. So once again, thanks for taking your time out this evening. Bye-bye.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Thanks everyone.